that. The next segment is a fireside chat with Cloud's SEK. What happens when cybersecurity companies get breached? We have Mr. Rahul Sasi, co-founder, CEO, CloudSec. And joining him to host the fireside chat, we have Mr. Vinayak Godse, CEO, DSCI. So over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you. This is the last feature, and we all know what we are discussing here, right? So when a security company breach, what happens? So I will start, Rahul. What was that moment?
Hey, first of all, before we start, congrats on you taking over the new position. And I was telling you, and I just wanted to share this with everyone. His story is very inspiring because, I'll tell you my own story why it's inspiring, because my dad was a bus conductor. He started as a bus conductor in the Kerala transportation, and he worked for 20 years to become retired as a transport officer. He has been in DSCI for 14 years, right? And I'm a strong believer of promoting people in your organization to the next position, and you would become an example and an inspiration for not just DSCI folks, but folks outside, that if you put enough efforts, you can go all the way up, right? So personally, so happy.
Thank you. So Rahul, let's start without taking much of a time. So what was that moment, right? Who called you first, or how you got to know?
Yeah, so I mean, being so to give some context, we at the CloudSec, we had a recent breach, so this is about sharing the experience of the breach and what happened. So I think last week I got a call. I was in London, by the way. I got a call from one of my colleagues saying that we have an incident, and we knew about it because we are monitoring the dark web. And we figured out that conversation which happened there, and we are able to identify that, oh, well, this has happened. So the early warning was there in that regards. So we got to know about it. And what happened, of course, what we did immediately was we went public, right? We went public. We immediately informed everyone, and we started writing a live blog, sharing all the incidents as we uncovered them. So it took us a week for us to uncover all the things. And this is what I want to share, right? Things I learned. And the whole idea was that, see, at CloudSec, we think, how can we do things that benefit the community? It is something which happened to us, which is bad. It's embarrassing. But what has happened to us, we wanted to translate that knowledge to the community out there so that things could get better.
So the live blog is what? Whatever you got to know, you'll put it there, right? So how was that live blog that you put together, actually? So most of the information you'll not be having in the first hand, basically, but there is some information available.
Yeah. So before I go into the details of what happened, I want to share one thing, that the responsibility of the attack is fully on me. In the sense, the incident, I am responsible. And I'm telling you this because when the Uber CISO incident happened, when they were trying to prosecute the CISO, I made a statement on LinkedIn saying that it's not the CISOs who are responsible for security, it's the CEO who is responsible for the security. I am the CEO of CloudSec. I'm the founder as well. I am responsible for all the actions. That means whatever mismanagement would have happened, not when I narrate, it's my problem, not because of those things. I'm just explaining what has happened so that you would understand that. So I just want to be clear. What has happened in our case was a Jira. A Jira Cloud is a software which we use for program management. The access, a user access to that Jira Cloud user account was compromised. So the attackers were able to get access to our Jira Confluence pages using that username and password of their employee.
So what was the problem? The configuration is the problem, or the product was the problem? So where was the problem?
In this case, how did the access happen, right? So Jira, we had 2FA and all those things enabled. The problem was not there. The problem was even worse. We had an employee's computer that got compromised, which led to all his passwords being sold on the dark web. Now this is very interesting. The sale of that password, we are even monitoring, so we use our software to look at these things. We had an early warning that this particular password was available for sale on that particular thing. So what would you do when a password is compromised? Yeah. You go reset the password, right? Now this is very interesting now. If you reset Jira Cloud password, the session token does not go invalidated. So now on the dark web, what is happening is people are not just selling usernames and passwords. They are also selling session tokens because the compromise happened on your computer.
Yeah.
So they actually upload the usernames, passwords, as well as the session tokens. So Jira Cloud by default has 30 days of active time frame. So the attacker can just replay that session tokens to get access to the account. And this is where it gets interesting. If your session tokens are compromised, 2FA does not help you.
So Rahul, usually we take an example, right? Whenever we talk about security, we always talk about the security breach happen in, say, company X, right?
Yeah.
What is to be now breach happen with you, right?
Yeah.
What is that feeling actually? And now some people are quoting you as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So there are some security researchers
So,
now quoting and taking
yeah.
your example as well.
Yeah. So in our own product pitch deck, we used to quote Cisco's hack as an example.
Yeah.
So we have replaced that with CloudSec's own hack. So that's point number one.
Yeah.
Point number two is, see, as a cybersecurity company getting hacked is embarrassing. But it's very important, and see, we could have covered it up, we could have just not given any information, you know. But it's very important that as this community grows, we get more mature about the way we talk about incidents. We can't protect each other without sharing what happened to another person.
And this response came as on the fly, or there was some initial
No,
preparation
so
which could happen to us and we should be prepared for this?
So ever since I founded the company, I knew there will be a day I will be hacked. Okay? Because, I mean, there would not be any company who was sitting here who never had a security incident. Everyone will have a security incident. It's just a function of whether data became public or not. So from the day I started, I knew this day would come. So at that point of time, I always thought, if it ever comes, my first response would be to go public. So that much I knew from before. So it was not a spontaneous or anything, I would say.
And how was that response? Like, so regulator,
Yeah.
customer, most of your social media followers
Yeah.
also, do you
So
follow?
I think last 2 weeks we haven't slept. I haven't slept. I'm pretty sure my team hasn't slept. We were all working on it. That much is there. But I think I'll tell you something. I don't know if you've seen when an accident happens, you know, on a road accident happens, you would see a lot of people gathering around the victim, right? And there'll be like a inner crowd. The inner crowd will be always looking at, so I'll call level one. Level one will be always looking at the victim, trying to see, is he bleeding? Can we stop the bleeding? Can we give him some water? Can we do something more to help him? And then there'll be an external crowd, one crowd outside, level two crowd. Level two crowd does not know what happened because they can't still see what, they don't have visibility. They're looking and saying, okay, what just happened there? And there's a third level. Third level is more like, okay, that guy hasn't worn his helmet, right? Now there's a fourth level, which is a vulture, which is like trying to feast on the body which is on the ground, right? Now, let me explain to you what level one was. All our customers were extremely supportive. They were the level one ones. Customers, CISOs called me, a lot of them, called me and said, Rahul, we will give you all sort of support you need at this point of time. Of course, we have compliance things you need to settle, but our support is there. 99% of the crowd was level one, extreme amount of supporting. There are certain people whom we couldn't reach out to because they wouldn't have heard our message. They would have known that this happened to CloudSec, but they still don't know what happened. So they're very speculative. So that is the level two crowd, which is just, I would say, like 3 to 4%, very few people. And then there are people, like I said, the pointing fingers things, that I would say just 1% of the crowd was that.
So Rahul, you recently got quite a good investment, right? So
Yeah.
what was the reaction from the investor for this?
What is the nature of the?
Investor, reaction from the investors basically.
No, that's one. So, see, I think, I'm not sure. I think it may be the way we responded. My mom always says this, right? If you don't fail, you won't go far, right? And all the mature people who supported would have had some amount of failure in their life. I'm pretty sure they never came with a silver spoon or in their mouth that they got everything immediately, right? They would have worked so hard to reach there to understand and have the maturity to appreciate when you fail. So even the investors, I would say, were on the level one.
So could you able to report the breach in 6 hours of the time, the certain guidelines?
Yeah. No, so this is very interesting.
Yeah.
So we were reporting heavily on the AMS breach, and
Yeah.
also we identified more hospitals who were breached in that time frame, and we were reporting constantly, right? And then this exact thing happened.
Yeah.
So one of the news articles was the organization who identified hospital breach is now breached.
Breach, yeah.
So,
yeah.
so
yeah.
but no,
Yeah.
it's just.
So now the key part here is because this is product, right? And this is in the product security is definitely important part, and security product is more critical, right, Rahul? So now there may be still something that you would have learned as a lesson, which would have feeding in terms of what you need to do for the next.
Yeah, no, absolutely. See, first of all, the employee's laptop got compromised, right? It's very interesting, and it's the silly thing from our end. We gave the laptop, so we are a 170 people company. So we don't have an internal IT, we don't have a team who repairs computers. So if a computer gets broken, we send it to an external technician to fix it.
Yeah.
Now, when the external technician fixes it, they are like an extended arm to us.
Yeah.
They fix the computer, hardware issues, and in this case, the employee's computer had a hardware issue. We send it to fix to the vendor, which is an extended arm to us. When they fix it, they install the operating system and all the softwares which we have to, and bring it back, and admin gives it back to the team. Now, when the software came back, when the MacBook came back, everything was wiped. Everything which it had was wiped and freshly installed with a fresh software of Windows, and it had this malware as well.
Yeah.
And then we recently figured out that they went online to download the Windows copy and installed that on the computer, which had the stealer log in it.
Okay.
So now our admin team's mistake was that without verifying a fresh machine which we received, passing it back directly to the employee was a big flaw. And if you would have avoided that, and one of the things we are doing right now is, if a fresh machine comes, even if you go to the store and purchase it, we are putting that for quarantine for a week with all the solutions we have, and we verify that, and then connect it back to the infrastructure.
So the company to be known as a breach, right? So how does you see this particular news and this particular instance would get played in coming 6 months, 1 year time?
So I think we are very clear, right? I'm not sure how the community, so far, like I said, the community's response has been amazing. That is because they wanted to support us. I think this is going to be remembered, right? I think it's going to be remembered because at CloudSec, we are going to make every effort to make sure everybody knows about this incident, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I could have had this talk about our product. No, it's important to share how you failed, and that's the best way to learn. You can learn about 100 successes, but the best way to learn is learn from failures, right?
Tell me about the security researcher. I'm seeing a lot of people are putting their commentary on this one. Any specific commentary that you think was useful for you and you would like to?
Yeah, so I think Colonel Sanjeev, I think, said one statement. In fact, again, there were multiple, by the way. I'm just trying to quote one. One of them was that, well, at a time of crisis, we have decided to go public, share as much information as possible to the public, but then make sure that you are giving factual information, because at a time of panic, you can have not so factual information put into your releases, right? It can happen. So making sure factual information goes out at the time of crisis was very important. That's a good thing. I have a CISO who called me and said, okay, now our compliance team will have to deal with you, and they're an existing customer. Don't worry about anything else. That we will solve, but you fix this particular thing. And then he offered one interesting thing that, we had antivirus. An endpoint solution and an antivirus are kind of like, so I think many organizations I'm hearing that they're trying to have both together, not just one. So beefing up on those are also something I would say, we would do.
So Rahul, just 1 or 2 minutes left basically, right? So there are a lot of entrepreneurs here and a lot of startups. We are almost 300 plus startups now in the country in cybersecurity space, and many probably are seeing you or CloudSec as an inspiration for them to look at basically. So what will be your key message for them?
See, I mean, let me talk about, us, our mission, a little bit. See, I founded the company in 2015 when I spent almost 4 years before traveling all around the world. Before traveling all around the, because I come from a small village, one of my thought process was that only people from a particular company can build software products. And if I ask you, which is that cybersecurity country, you would say Israel, right?
Yeah.
You would not say anything else.
Yeah.
So even my thought process was that, only certain countries, US, UK, Israel, can only build great products. The primary objective for us to start this company was to prove that people from any part of the world can, and especially from India, because we have the talent and capability to build great products, right? It is nothing that those guys are special or privileged, right? No. So our fundamental vision was to prove to the world that you can build great products from this region and sell it to the world. So having not just focused on business or money, but focused on a strong aspirational or a strong vision is very important, because see, life is going to be very difficult, irrespective of whether you're a CEO or not. It's going to be difficult. But when you have a very strong, how do I say, emotion to hold on to, things like this, you would be able to handle it, right? Because you still have to reach to that destination, irrespective of what happens.
Yeah. So, and the last question here is like, on a personal front, right? After breach, and many of the victims who had been going through this one, how much of that effort basically? So you have talked about not able to sleep. So this is true with all the CloudSec employees, or only some people of the CloudSec employees like this basically, in terms of the number of hours that you are spending in terms of recovering from these?
No, I would say, I mean, I can't thank my team more. See, at the time of a crisis, it's very important to bring everyone together. You can't point fingers at that point of time, right? So we didn't take action on anyone. Let me be very correct. We didn't take action on any of our team members. It's because mistakes will happen. But we all worked together to find out what happened during this crisis. And sleep, yes, a lot of us had to have much lesser sleep. I used to sleep like 6 hours. I had to bring it down to 3 hours the last 2 weeks. I think now it'll go up.
Yeah, probably it will go up now.
Yeah.
So thank you, Rahul, and you have some time, please spare some time after this as well, because there are a lot of startups here who would like to talk to you about, a lot of security professionals who like to talk to you.
No, absolutely.
Thanks for coming and discussing this.
I am here to talk about failures.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this session. Yeah, thank you. Please join me to give a big hand on to Rahul. Thanks for coming, Rahul. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. Really, to talk about failure and to talk about learnings and lessons from failure in this format is just so heartwarming.